Welcome to ADHD Founders, a podcast about having ADHD and running a business and the challenges those two things bring together. This episode, we talked a lot about AI, specifically Claude, and my AI journey, because I feel like I've been a little bit behind in terms of coming to AI, but we talk about how I've been learning that, some projects that Jesse's working on, and then our usual segment on picks and plugs.
Yeah, so Sharon wasn't able to join us this week. Whenever that happens, we seem to get really, really nerdy with the coding and stuff like that. So yeah, this is definitely one of our more technical episodes, but we had a good time. You should enjoy it. If you want to help support the podcast, you can go to patreon.com/ADHD_founders. And you can also support the podcast for free just by going to wherever you listen to your podcast and giving us a 5-star rating. Thanks. Enjoy.
Last episode I was trying to do, I kind of committed to doing some stuff with AI.
Yeah.
Because I actually feel like I'm really behind on the AI thing. Like, I feel like out of you, me, and Sharon, I'm kind of at the most basic level. I've sort of just mostly been using chat, and then I went to Cursor, but that's kind of the extent of it. Now I'm exploring Claude. I'm behind. I feel behind.
Well, I mean, if it makes you feel better, I think everyone feels behind. That's just sort of like, no matter where you're at in, like, especially in just like the dev side of things, there's new things happening so often, all the time. It feels like I constantly feel like I'm behind. But I do remember like early days of like AI, I was kind of pretty quick to trying it out. And I remember you were definitely pretty resistant to a lot of the stuff.
I mean, I think part of the reason I'm resistant is also just because from an ADHD perspective, I actually got a lot of dopamine from coding myself and solving the problem myself and just writing the code and just feeling that satisfaction. And I definitely feel like it was a turning point when AI came in that I lost some of that passion for it. I lost some passion for coding because it became, I don't want to say too easy, but it was kind of like, oh, I don't need to think anymore. Like, I just paste this into say a AI chat window, go fix it, and it just would fix it. And I was like, this is not fun. It wasn't fun for me anymore, but I am trying to embrace it now and to try and find some joy in using some of the AI tools. And I guess I can still do some coding, but it's just in a different way. I don't know. I've never really liked it's almost like I'm getting promoted to being a manager of a coding team because I'm just planning stuff, I'm reviewing stuff and, giving the go ahead, but I don't feel like I'm actually doing the work. I like doing the work.
Right.
I don't know. I just like it. I feel like I'm creating when I'm actually coding. I don't feel like I'm creating as much when I'm just asking someone else to do it. That's probably just something I have to come to grips with because that's the new reality, but it's been a bit hard. But I do need to do it now because I think it's the only way to turn the business around. Like, I just feel like there's no other way to do it.
Yeah, I feel like a few things there. Like, one, I don't like the language of like, oh, I'm ahead or behind or whatever. But I feel like I've been facing this reality for a while. Cause like when it first came out, I was like, oh, this is cool. Like, look how handy when I start typing a list and then I can hit, like, it auto completes, I can hit tab and it knows the rest of that thought. And like stuff like that was really great. And then it's just like advanced so much beyond that now. And I had the experience of when I left a previous job and then I was at a startup, and at that startup, they were just like all in everything AI. And I remember the day that Claude Code was announced, our CTO said, no one is allowed to hand code right now. I want everyone to become familiar with what it's like to program with Claude Code. And so basically, you're going to have to figure it out. No more manually writing code, at least for now, which was like really just wild. We were just like tossed into the fire and having to work it out. But I'm kind of thankful that happened because it really allowed me to get more familiar with that before a lot of other people did. Because I was just having to figure it out and finding what are the limitations, figuring out my own sort of like best practices with how to use things like plan mode, or am I only writing requirements now and letting the machine do the coding, or what is my involvement anymore? And it is kind of all a little bit hazy. I do feel like I'm starting to see what the next, I don't know, it's a made up time period, but I kind of feel like Like I had like the last like 10 years or so that felt like great. Like I was like hand coding everything and I felt like I had control. And like you said, like I was getting the dopamine from solving new problems and from like refining my code and making it nice and like functional in a way that I liked. Like I liked the prettiness of the way that my code functioned, and I liked knowing all the ins and outs of how all my components worked and stuff like that. I feel like now the reality is just like that isn't going to be the case for the next 10 years. So how can I find the joy if I'm not going to know the ins and outs of every single little component? And it's been a hard process. It's not like, oh, okay, I'm going to do this now and now I'm happy. Like, no, it's been weird. I do feel like I'm losing something that I loved before, but I am starting to, I feel like the fog is starting to clear and I'm finding those things I do really enjoy about this new process. And I'm also like facing really interesting challenges where like if I can just tell a machine to build an interface, well then I have to be really thoughtful about it, because before I would figure out the interface one little step at a time as I was building it. And so that slowness of having to hand code it was sort of a feature because I was able to think my way through it at the same speed that the code was happening. And now it feels like the code's just like, blip, is this look good? Does this do what you want? I have to catch up to it before I decide whether it's good enough. I don't know if that makes sense. It's sort of this tension I'm feeling lately of like rediscovering product design and vision and taste. And I don't know, it's all sort of this a bit of a jumbly mess that's just kind of starting to come back into focus for me.
I think I know what you mean because you and I are both developer designers. So we design what we want as well from the UI perspective, and then we code it. And for me, what you described is similar because I would design something and I'd kind of like you'd have the interface, but you also got the UX, like the experience. And I'd sort of be trying to play around and like imagine if I was going to click around and this is the flow that I'd go through. Are you kind of saying like you lose a bit of that with AI just kind of spitting out a design? Like you're losing the experience part?
Yeah, I think that's part of it. And there's also like I'm building like a million different things right now. And so that's part of it. I feel like I'll often be building something and like with Claude Code and like creating something, and I have like an interface and something will be wrong, but I don't really know what yet. I feel like it's harder. Whereas before I would work that out along the way. And so I'd kind
Sure,
of
yeah, yeah.
build this model in my head as I'm coding of like, okay, let's see. So I should have like a top navigation bar here. And then that will load a page that'll have like maybe a sidebar, sub navigation. Like I have this hierarchy of how the interface should feel. And it feels like it's sometimes harder to figure that out when you ask AI to build a page. It makes some of those decisions. And then you're looking at it and you're like, well, something's wrong. But I'm but it's more
Right,
difficult to
right.
figure out what's wrong. I'm like, oh, there's a sidebar here with a list of items, but also tabs, and like
Yeah, yeah,
the
yeah,
mental
yeah.
hierarchy of how this works isn't making sense yet.
Yeah, yeah, because you there could be a couple of things, like, maybe it does make sense because you weren't brought along on the journey to creating it. You kinda just, "Here's the end product," and then you had to go retrofit it and go, "Oh, that's why it was done." That could be one angle, but it could also not make sense because it literally doesn't make sense, and it just spat it
Right.
out, and that's one of the things I worry about is, like, sameness, and is it just pulling
Hmm.
from stuff from other interfaces that it thinks works, but it doesn't actually work. Like, does it
Yeah.
actually make sense? Is what you're saying is like, oh, it looks good, but when you dig, it doesn't make sense.
It actually reminds me, like now that we're talking, I hadn't thought of this before, but it's kind of like when early AI image generation was happening, and you would have like people that would have like a third arm, or
Oh
where like
yeah,
at a glance it
the
looks like
hands.
an actual photo, but then someone that knows like or looks closer can see like, oh, this part doesn't actually work, or this part doesn't make sense, or there's something off and I don't know what it is. And like now like AI has gotten really wild with that, so it's like become often undistinguishable, or really really close. Maybe it's just like user interface is kind of in that early phase still, where
Sure,
someone that
yeah.
really knows interfaces is like something's off here and I'm not immediately sure. I'm trying to pick apart the pieces to see what doesn't actually make sense, even though at a glance it looks like, oh, a brand new great, website, or a new company just launched. Here's an awesome SaaS app, but there's something
Mhm.
wrong, and I
Mhm.
gotta like work my way through it to figure it out.
We're sort of talking more from the experience and usability point of view, but, do you think that happens from the code point of view as well? So, like, it builds something, and then later you kinda go, "Oh, the structure was wrong. It's not the structure that I need." Like,
Yeah, I think that definitely happens too.
because I think you and I were discussing this offline, like, maybe a few weeks back, and I think you said something like, "Be careful when you create something from scratch, like, start with the interface and then get the AI to make that versus if you just ask it to do something, it might start from the bottom up and go, 'Oh, here's the database, here's the next level, here's the next level,' but then by the time you get to the interface, it's like, 'This database setup doesn't work for the interface that I want.'" Was it something like
Yeah, and
that?
then it has
Yeah.
all this code to undo, and
Yeah,
it
yeah,
doesn't
yeah.
do it well, and then you have all this like cruft in your code base.
But then if you start with the interface and the interface is wrong, then it might create wrong anyway. Like, if you're saying,
Right.
like,
Yeah, I know the thing that you're kind of referencing that we had talked about before was this idea of like, oh shoot, I just thought of it. There was another like vertical slices. So like
right.
the idea
Oh,
of
yeah,
vertical
yeah, yeah, yeah.
slices, or like tracer bullets is another way it's described, where instead of telling like, hey, build this thing, like start with a specific piece of like a little bit of the database and a little bit of the connective layer and a little bit of interface of like UI, so that you're interacting with the thing. And part of that I think is really applicable for you and I, since we're very front end focused. Like
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
back end is sort of like, yeah, it has to do the stuff. So the front end works the way that I think it should. Like that's where my brain is on the front end.
The
So
vertical slice really paints the picture of touching all the different things that you might need to make an app work, like from the database all the way up to the front end and doing little bits of that. That helps me like picture it. And you're sort of saying vertical slice versus doing horizontal slices, going, let's just build the database, and then the next level, and then the next level, and then you're like, oops, it doesn't work
yeah, and then like
for
the
my
last layer
purpose.
is like, and here's the UI, and you're like, oh no, none of this
Oh
makes
no.
any sense. This is not how I want this thing to work at all. And then that's even worse for people like you and I, where we maybe don't know all the mechanics of the back end, so it becomes hard to know what even needs to be undone.
Yeah, yeah,
And I
yeah.
don't want to sell it short. Like we know like a lot of what's going on, but our focus is more, at least I'll speak for myself. My focus is more the front end stuff. And so when I have to undo stuff that's affecting the database and stuff, I feel like, ooh, this is not, I don't like doing this.
Yeah, yeah. No, I'm the same. I'm the same. I definitely more front end than back end, but it's a necessity. You have to have it. But you know what I was also thinking was, when you're talking about vertical slice, it also mimics, just creating like an MVP for a new product in terms of
Yeah,
feature
yeah.
set. It's both from a feature set perspective, like just do the minimum to test like your hypothesis, and it's also from a technical perspective. You kind of do the minimum at each level to kind of connect everything and then make sure it kind of makes sense. There's some parallels there.
Yeah, definitely. For anyone that doesn't know, MVP we're talking about is minimum viable product,
Yeah, yeah.
which is basically kind of the simplest version that does what you want it to do. That's like useful. Actually, we had an episode a while back talking about MVPs, because I think Sharon's example of the MVP was like a brick to put out a fire on someone's head or something like that.
Was it? I can't
You do you not
remember
remember
this.
that? It was
Vaguely,
what's the
vaguely.
MVP to put out a fire in your head? Well, it's a brick, because that'll work. It's just not the best.
How's that
Um,
gonna work? You mean to put out a fire?
smash out the fire on someone's head with a brick. We'll need to get Sharon's not
Wow.
here, though. We'll need to get her
What
back to
about
maybe
just like a
re-explain this
blanket or
one.
something?
No, she was
It's a
adamant that
brick
it was a brick.
versus what? Putting out like going to get a fire extinguisher and like all the steps in between.
No, I think the idea was like, if you're in a room and there's a brick and there's nothing else, like, well, then you're going to use that brick, because that's the minimum viable thing that'll help. Like, because you need something to stamp it out.
I don't know about this.
Take it up with Sharon. I
Okay.
also think I also thought it was a little bit strange,
Okay,
but
yeah, she's not here to
we'll let
defend
her
herself,
defend
so
it next
let's
time.
like we can pick it up on the next episode.
Yeah. Well, another thing you were starting to talk about that we didn't is just the effect of you feeling like you have to kind of do this with like business in mind.
Sure, sure, yeah,
And
yeah.
that's we were talking a little bit before we hit record about that, and how AI is just kind of such a mess of things. There's like people that throw morality arguments on it. There are legitimate concerns about it with like environment and things like that,
Yeah,
as
yeah,
well as like
yeah.
how it came to be by taking like there's all this sort of like stuff with it. And there's other reasons too that some people are like resistant to use it. But the flip side is it's kind of like when the internet came out, like there was businesses that were like, oh, we're not going to do that, and a lot of them probably went out of business because they chose not to do that thing. And so their competitors that embraced that new technology outshone them. And I feel like that's a really similar, maybe even more hyperpowered thing with AI, because it can just add so much speed with the concerns we had talked about, like some of the six-fingered UIs, or however you want to call that.
I think for me as well, just like from an ADHD perspective, I just like it's hit all the challenges that I face. Like I've had a lot of choice paralysis as well, like because there's so many tools and there's also so much new stuff coming out. I don't know which one to jump on, and I keep going, oh, this one's better, oh, this one's better, this one's better. But now I've kind of decided like I'm just going to go deep on one tool, on one brand. So I'm going to go all in on Claude, and that's from, a chat perspective, like a Claude Cowork perspective, and also Claude Code perspective. I'm just going to go all deep on that. And even if there are other models that come out from other companies, I feel like whatever I learn can be like you can easily translate that across. If I want to jump later, I can jump. But right now, I'm just going to focus in on one tool, or one brand rather, and just learn that. And that's kind of really helped me, because before I was just like, I'm jumping around. I'm constantly looking for the best thing. It's like I have to find the best thing. It's like, no, just
Right.
learn one thing.
That FOMO that's kind
It's
of going on, where
FOMO.
you're like,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
if everyone's talking about this new tool, I got to use it or I'm behind.
Yeah, it's novelty as well, and it's something new, and also, yeah, FOMO, and just but then there's also choice paralysis, there's overwhelm, there's like new shiny thing. I don't know like which one am I going to choose? Like I just got completely stuck. But now I'm just like, you know what? I'm going to go Claude because a couple of reasons. One, like you and Sharon both use Claude, so I feel like we can have we can have chats about it. And I don't know, I kind of just I like their interface. I don't know. That's like that does count for something as well. But I kind of
Totally.
like,
I think that counts for there's a reason you and I are often talking about like different themes we're using in our in VS Code or whatever, because
oh
that
my
stuff
God, don't get
matters.
me
Like
started on the
the
themes. I
place you
waste so
live where
much
you're coding
time.
all the time
Yeah,
is
yeah.
important.
Well, I kind of committed to doing something last episode. I feel kind of embarrassed that I didn't do it, but I did start my AI journey. So I feel like I did make some progress. I've been watching a lot of YouTube videos, and maybe this can be my recommendations later for our picks and plugs section. But I've actually found quite a few channels and videos and content creators that I really like. And I went back to my roots, because when I first started to learn coding, I tried to read books about it and I couldn't get into it. And I just started watching YouTube as the way to learn. Like I learn really well from YouTube. It's something about the videos and the practical part of it. So I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to do that again. So I kind of feel like I'm back to a different phase of my work. I've gone back
Right,
to
right.
like a learning phase, and I've just been going deep on some videos. And I know I need to put it into practice, which is really my next step. And hopefully I can do something today. But I felt like I needed more of a foundation. Like I wanted to understand some stuff. Maybe this is like my downfall, but I really like to understand stuff. I really love like I don't
Yeah,
I like
yeah.
just doing random things, but I also like to understand, like there's a balance. So I kind of was like, okay, I'm going to do a little bit of foundational work, watch some videos, get like an idea of what's happening, and then I think I'm ready now just to jump into doing some practical stuff. But there was a little bit of fear of like, oh, that's so big. I don't even know where to start. I'd have no idea what, all the skills are, and all the connectors, and like all the, the rules and the memory files. And I was like, I have no idea what's happening. But now I feel like I have a basic understanding, which is enough. And I can go away and do some stuff. So anyway, my commitment is for the next episode, which, oh my God, if I don't do it, then you have permission to like slap me or something across the video screen. But anyway, I guess that's my update. That's where I'm at. I've actually started to embrace the AI tools. I've been like actually doing some foundational learning in the learning method that works best for me, which is video. And I'm ready to start actually creating something. And like we discussed in the last episode, I'm going to do something that's separate to Llama Life because I had a fear. I got this fear of like destroying that code base. But if I do something separate to that, it's completely independent, like there's no way I can stuff it up. So I think that was an important thing to note as well, like separate it out, just do like a random project. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Nice. Yeah, that feels like a really great way to do it because yeah, I get it. That'd be scary to mess with that code base that is doing its thing right now. It's like your business. It'd be scary to just like throw AI at it and see what you accidentally mess up and don't realize until way later or whatever. So starting
Yeah,
fresh feels
yeah.
like a really nice like kind of sandbox.
Sandbox, that's the word. But yeah, anyway, that's my update. What's been happening on your end?
Yes, I've been going crazy. I'm like doing so like all sorts of different little projects. Actually, there's this great quote that I've been reminding myself of. There's a developer. I think we might be talking about him later, but there's a developer named Matt Pocock. He does a bunch of awesome stuff with AI and development. But he posted a tweet the other day that just says, "Never been easier to feel busy and ship nothing. Stay focused."
Oh, this is my worry as well. This
Right.
is my
Yeah.
worry.
So
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. That's what's
because
been
I
happening with
feel like
you, or
it's so easy to just like, oh, I'm going to do this project. I'm going to do this and I'm working on that and I'm doing that. And then you get like 6 months later and you're like, nothing shipped. And that is definitely a fear of mine.
I am worried about this from ADHD perspective because I'm worried that I have so many ideas, and if I suddenly have the power to just make them all, like, am I going to get distracted? Like, whereas before I had to be a
Hmm.
little bit more considered, starting stuff and not finishing it. It wasn't really an option for me because it's got to be a business as well. And now, am I going
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
be like, I mean, is that where you're at? Like, you're just creating lots of things but not finishing them? Is it?
So a couple of things, like one, totally right. Huge specific concern for ADHD because as we all know, we love starting new things. And this is an opportunity to start a whole lot of new things. Anytime I get an idea, I can just spin up a session, start a new directory with Claude and start building this new thing. And I can have 50 projects and never ship any of them. So one, definitely like a big concern there. And actually, so because of that, this is maybe ironic, but one of the things I've started building is a tool to track the different things that I'm working on. Specifically because of this, because I would build something and then like 3 weeks go by and I'd be like, oh, I never did. Am I still working on that? Did I announce that? And like just losing track of all of these things because I'm kind of like having all of these, like I talked about in my book, like these chainsaws in the air. Like that's motivating for me having kind of all these things. But the problem is I'm losing track of the chainsaws, and that's
Yeah,
bad.
yeah. Yeah, so in your book, you've got this image, right, of juggling. It's not just the chainsaw, but it's juggling the chainsaws. Like you're trying to keep them all in the air, but it's dangerous because they're chainsaws.
Right. There's something about like juggling all these different things that is exciting to my brain and actually does help motivate me, which sounds really weird, I think, to people that don't have ADHD. But when you have ADHD, maybe you understand like sometimes that chaos of kind of doing a lot of different things helps move me forward. Where if I'm trying to focus on just one thing, well, suddenly that one thing doesn't seem very exciting anymore and it's hard to do anything. But yeah, so I've built this like dashboard that has been really helping me like keep track of. So I can mark like different projects as like active things that I'm working on. I can shelve them or like snooze them if I'm not going to work on this for a while, or, remind me in a month or whatever. But the
What
things
is it, like a
I'm
website? A website that shows you this,
currently,
or
it's just like it's a local web app.
okay.
And
Yeah,
then
yeah.
that I'm just sort of like dog fooding, like working on it for myself. It does feel like, hey, maybe this could be a product. I'm not sure yet. Right now, I'm just sort of like using it for myself to track stuff. And I've kind of built like it kind of has, do you remember Rome Research? Did you ever use that
Yeah, yeah,
tool?
yeah. I never used it, but I remember it. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So very like outliney based. And so that's kind of my tool kind of works like that. So I have like it's sort of a combination dashboard and a journal. So I have like a dashboard where I have like the Flux app that I'm working on. I have wavepal that I'm working on. I have like reviving my newsletter. I have like a whole plan I'm doing for that. And so there's like all these, I probably have like eight like of my top sort of different projects that I'm thinking about right now. Then I have above that, I have just sort of like this journal interface where I can just say like at flux sent the latest version to blah, 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 and just sort of like take notes. And then that'll automatically tag that as like an update to that project. And so then I can go to the Flux app and I can see all my updates in there. And it also lets like it know, oh, it's been 0 days now since he's worked on that. And so it's sort of an active sort of thing.
So there's so many things about this that appeals to me. I like seeing little updates. Like I like, because it shows you've made progress. It feels like you're making progress,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
this is
yeah.
the danger as well, because you're making progress, but toward what? Like, is it going to become something or is it just a project? But you feel like you're busy and making progress. But I do like the feeling of making progress. And then I love
Yeah,
the
yeah.
day thing because there's quite a few. I haven't done it for a while actually, but I used to use these apps that were kind of like countdown timers, I guess, but they would also count up. But this is not from a time perspective. It's more like it is a time perspective, but it's more a day thing. Like it's been X number of days since you
Oh,
washed your bed
yeah, yeah.
sheets, or it's been X number of days since you watered the plants. And I like seeing that because I'm always shocked at how many days have gone past.
Right.
And I'm like, oh my God, I haven't done that that's why my plants are dying. It's been like, 21
Right.
days. Go water them. And, there's an alarm and reminder and stuff. But I love that it shows the days. And then it also counts up. So it'll say things like, it's been 200 and something days since the start of this year. I don't know. I just made that up. It's probably not. But but I like seeing that it's been X number of days since something was done and also since something was passed. I think just because I'm so rubbish with time, like,
Yeah, there's that whole being time blind. It's like it's so easy, like you said, where you're like, oh, when was the last time I did this? And you look and it's like I thought it'd been a week and it had been like 6 weeks
yeah,
and that sort of thing. It's
yeah.
so easy for that to happen. And so it's been really helpful for me to see that using my dashboard of like being able to see the passing of time with
Well,
stuff.
it's even like before we hit record on this episode, you and I were going, it feels like it's been a while since we've talked. And we were like, how long has it
Right.
been? I don't know. Like, has it been like 2 weeks or 4 weeks? And because we've had a couple of episodes where, I've not been able to attend or you've not been able, or Sharon, hasn't been able.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah,
sort of,
yeah.
we've had this weird crossover period where I don't think I've spoken with you for ages, but I don't know how long that's been. I
Right.
have no
I mean, like
idea.
speaking of that, I was gonna say like this app I'm building right now, dashboard, very different like interface and stuff, but it's really similar to the other app that I'm doing, wavepal, but that's about people. So I kind of have like this new product that's about keeping me in touch with my projects instead of people. And so
Oh, yeah, it's the same kind of thing.
that's one thing that is awesome, I think, about how you can build stuff with AI, because this project tracker thing was like there are tools out there, but none of them are doing what I wanted it to be. And
Mm-hmm.
so like especially like this journal interface that feels really good to me now. Like I'm using it and I love, like I don't know of any tool that does it like that. And maybe there are some, but then there's probably something else like it doesn't do the day timer thing, and that annoys
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
And it's really some of these like building personal tools can be really cool. Oh, like another example. So I think we'd mentioned this a couple episodes ago, but like Sharon and I have been doing this other podcast called ADHD Live, which we need to have you as a
Oh,
guest
yeah,
on for
as a guest.
sure.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, you
yeah.
have to get
Yeah,
up.
yeah.
You have to get up
Let's
early
get up at
because
like
it's live.
4 a.m. or something to get on.
Right.
I keep seeing you guys on Instagram. I'm like, damn, I've got so much FOMO, but I need to sleep.
Right. But one of the things that we've been doing with that, because it's a live thing, we're trying to do a lot of like generate a lot of like shorts to post on like TikTok and Instagram and things like that. And so I was looking around at like some different services. I tried a few and I was annoyed by a lot of things with all of them. I found one that was like, I guess this is okay. And so I signed up for that one and we used that one. So most of the clips out there were using this one service that we used. And then I just like one day, like I was getting annoyed with another thing. The big thing was like of the different services, either you could have it where it would just be like always the 4 up view, so like all 4 people on the screen, or it would do one person and it would switch between them. But I kind of wanted both. I'm like, sometimes you want to see all people, and then sometimes one person's talking and I just want to see them. Or maybe sometimes I want to see 2 people. Like I wanted to kind of mix it up. And so I, hopped on the terminal and started talking to Claude, and I was like, I wonder what it can do. Let's just see what it can do. And I didn't even tell it like use FFmpeg, or like I didn't tell it what to do. I just said, here are the raw files I have. here's like my goal. Let's work through it. And it's been like a lot of process. It's not like it just like spat out, here it is, perfect shorts. But it went through that. It downloaded it like the right tools to go through it transcribed it, and it was like did all this stuff kind of auto magically a little bit. And then I kept providing it feedback. So it generates some shorts, and then I'd look at them and say stuff like, for example, one of the things we do on the show is a lot of times we'll do like a puzzle. And so there'll be like a question, and then people are trying to like answer the question. And then at the end, you find out the answer. But the previous clip generator that I had used would like spoil the answer sometimes. Like it would like put up text that said the answer at the beginning of the video,
Oh,
like weird
weird.
stuff like that that totally didn't fit the format. And so I was able to tell Claude to look for like, hey, one type of clip we want is a puzzle where it starts with a question, has the conversation, and ends with the answer. And now when I give it like a new episode, it specifically can look for those types of like, oh, when is a like a question being asked of the group? And then we create a clip out of that.
Wait, are you doing this in Claude Code or Cowork?
Claude Code.
In
So
Code,
I'm
okay.
having it, yeah, and I'm actually in the middle. It did a lot of it using Python, and it worked great. And now I want to make it into more of like a local app that I can use and actually read the code. And I don't know Python at all. So I've
Yeah,
been
yeah,
like
yeah, same.
translating it all to TypeScript, which has been like a process. But literally earlier today, it like finished up, and now I have like an interface. So I don't just have to go through, like I can pick the clips, and it's just like one of those
But
things.
isn't this like more a Cowork thing, or is it a code thing? Like
Well,
Claude
it's doing
Code
a
or
ton of
Claude
code.
Cowork? Because like with Cowork, don't you just give it like files, and it could, wouldn't it spit out like what you need? What's the code part? Like,
The code is all of the work it's doing, because I'm just giving it like, here's the recording, it's 60 minutes long, and here are some other recordings of like the raw video of each person. Take this, figure it out, find some clips. And so it's taking the code where it's going through those, it's making sure the timing of the different files is lined up. It's doing the transcription, then it's searching the transcription for likely clips, then it's cutting out blank spots when necessary to fit it into the right time. It's figuring out who is speaking at which times for which camera to show, whether to show 4 people or 2 people or 1 person. It's taking slides and figure it. So it's kind of this whole huge, it's almost like a battery of like scripts that it's going through. It's like, okay, first we run through this script, and then we get this artifact from it, these files. Then we take those and run it through the other thing.
I feel like Claude Code and Claude Cowork are kind of the same then, because I feel like Cowork could do that too, but you're starting it in Claude Code. But then is there some sort of output that you're saving from a like a code perspective? You said Python, right? So there is some kind of script that's being saved that you can run later.
Yeah, it's a whole bunch of, it's several scripts.
You
How,
can save it as a script in Cowork as well.
huh. Okay, I don't really use Cowork. I thought Cowork was more about having a directory of like files. I don't know. I wouldn't know how to use that for actual coding.
It is that as well, but it can do, I think it can do everything that you just said, but I guess the person using Cowork doesn't need to know the code. They just go, here's my files, extract this and make a new clip from it. But that sounds like what you're doing with code. Okay, we'll have to follow up with this on the next episode, because I'm kind of confused. Like,
Yeah.
what's the difference then? Because, like, I mean, obviously, Claude Code can actually spit out code that you can reuse and like launch. But I feel like in terms of an actual task, like, here's my outcome. I just want to do this task. I've got clips, spit out a new clip that has these specific sections or this specific format. That's co-work as well. Anyway, if anyone's listening out there that that can that knows the difference, like, comment on our Instagram.
I feel like there's a breakdown in communication of what it's doing, because like it doesn't feel to me like Cowork doesn't make sense to me. I've used Cowork before. I don't use it a lot, so it could just be missing something. That doesn't really make sense to me because of how much code work would need to be done. And now, like literally, here, I can't share it, but I'm gonna pull up a screen so I can see what I'm saying. So like right now, if we have a new episode, I would take all those files in a folder, and then I would move those manually into this folder that has where I've been doing Claude Code. And now I have an interface where I would go through, and my first step is intake. And in intake, I have 8 analysis stages. So I sync sources, then I transcribe, then I do a layout where it's checking for the layout of everything, and then I check for motion, then I check cam audio levels, cam health, diarize. I'm not even sure what that one is, and then speaker fusion. So that's 8 steps, like 8 different like scripts that all run taking these files as inputs. And then that's just the intake step. And then I go to step 2, which is like the sources and sync. And then step 3, which again has a bunch of stages, which is analysis. And then the fourth is where I'm like actually selecting the clips, where it's sort of like it's produced a few, and then I'm selecting which ones I want. And then from there, I can have like a review stage.
Right. So I think Cowork is just kind of it's almost like a UI layer on top of code for people who can't code or don't know these steps, because I feel like you could tell Cowork to do those things behind the scenes, but you wouldn't see you wouldn't see the code. And it'll just give you the output.
I would be very surprised if it could do what I have it doing, but there's a ton of overlap between all of the things.
Yeah. I agree. Claude Code would be more detailed because you can actually go under the hood and see that.
I've been going through stages right now where I'm trying to like optimize what it does, and it will generate, so it'll make some assumptions, write some code for like the real technical, how it's going through the video. And then it'll generate a page and give me like ABC, which of these 3 layouts is what you would expect or want. And so I'm like, it's given me sort of review sheets to kind of optimize its own thresholds for when to do different cam views and stuff like that.
It's more detailed. So just as a really simple example, so because I've been watching all these YouTube videos and I've kind of...
We're getting real nerdy on this episode. That always happens whenever Sharon is out. It's like we're going to get real, like Sharon's already pretty nerdy, but we're going to go even deeper.
So because I've been watching these videos, I kind of started with like Claude Chat, that's basic, but then I went Cowork and then I'm going code. Because I think in terms of detail, it's complexity. That's the hierarchy. But I've been watching a lot of Cowork videos, and the examples I always use are things like, oh, I want to upload like all my bank statements as PDFs, and then I'll ask Cowork, like I'll create a folder, put all the bank statements in there by month, and I'll name the files or just get it to name the files for you. But then it'll say, you can ask Cowork, oh, can you tell me how much interest I have earned over the past financial year? And it'll go into each of the files, probably use OCR, pull out the interest, and then create an Excel spreadsheet with all the interests broken down. You could do that with code as well, right? It sort of seems like similar to what you just said. Like I've got all these files, go into it, extract something or look for something.
Yeah. Like your example there sounds more like what I thought Claude Cowork was for, which was like files with text often,
information,
and sort of like data, that sort of stuff. Because I know a lot of people that use like Obsidian will then connect Claude Cowork to their Obsidian folder because
so they could see the markdown.
And actually, what I have done with Claude Cowork before is have like a folder with my book and a bunch of like old newsletters and stuff like that to sort of like help it have the context of my past writing and things like that when I'm like, I don't know, strategizing
the tone and
future
the
things
voice
or whatever.
Yeah,
things like that. I don't know if you could get to like the root level tools like FFmpeg and things like that with Claude Cowork, but who freaking knows? Because like I said, there is so much overlap between these different tools. Like I think they actually just recently combined Cowork with just like the normal Claude Chat.
And
there's also Claude Code that's in the app instead of your terminal. There's just like a lot of overlap. Like if you open the Claude app, there's a code tab.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, so it's like that's duplicate as well.
Oh, is that new, that code interface in the app? Before it used to be just in terminal?
No, I'm saying like, it's been there for a while. I'm just saying that's like another example of where they have like this overlap. Because I've tried the version in the app and I don't like it. I like terminal. I feel like I have more control.
Sure, yeah. Okay.
And actually, right now, like I just opened the Claude app to take a look and it says like it's talking about Cowork being part of chat now.
Yeah, it is. It's sort of it's combined together. They can kind of access similar
probably
things.
Because like what we're talking about, there's like this overlap. And so maybe they're trying to consolidate to a place that makes more sense.
Do you use, we're sort of running out of time, but do you use Dispatch at all? Do you use
Um,
Dispatch?
oh,
That's kind of
what
new.
is
So
dispatch?
so Dispatch is like so you can use
I'm behind. I'm
Claude.
behind.
You're behind. Well, I only learned about this because I've been looking at all the videos. But like, so in the Claude app on your on your phone, there's a dispatch section where you can actually like chat to it and ask it to run Cowork stuff, or I think code stuff as well, but from your phone. Because before you
Oh
couldn't, you could
yeah,
only
yeah, yeah,
run
yeah.
stuff from your laptop because it needed local access to your files. Now with Dispatch, I think you can do it through your phone, which communicates with your laptop, and then your laptop can run. Like you can ask it to do things.
I feel like I've heard about it, but I don't know if it's the same as remote control because I you can do remote control. I do that sometimes if I have like a long running thing where you do slash RC and then that you can access from your phone. So if I have like, oh, I got to leave my computer in my studio because it's doing some long running thing, I'll turn on RC so then I can, if it gets stuck on anything, I'll get
You can
like,
remote into it.
yeah, I
Yeah.
can
I
remotely kind of answer
think
stuff or whatever.
it sounds like that. It sounds like that's what it's doing, but they're just calling it dispatch.
Yeah,
Because I
interesting.
know, with open.
There's some I know there's some stuff which sounds like maybe this is what dispatch is. I haven't looked into
Mm.
it, where there's some like, I don't know, like compute happening not necessarily on your own computer. There's
Oh yeah,
something
yeah,
happening
yeah.
like within Claude's cloud or something. And that's something I haven't looked into yet, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, so that was something I saw with Cowork. Like, there's some stuff that's running locally on your computer, like when it's accessing some files, but there might be some instances where it computes it on like Claude's server, and in which case, like, you need to leave your computer on. I think it's no, sorry. When it's on the server, you don't need to leave your computer on because that's on their server. But if it's running stuff locally on yours, your computer needs to be awake.
That's a part where I don't understand. I'm like, does it have my code on its server? Like, what is the? That's what I haven't looked into yet to figure out how, like, what that's doing, like how
Maybe
that
it's
works.
accessing the files locally on your computer, but then to process whatever it needs to, because it needs more power, it sends it off to like remote server, and then sends it back. But it can't actually access your files. It's just accessing bits of data that it.
Yeah,
I don't know.
maybe
I'm
I
just
don't
kind
know.
of, this is kind of in my head. This is kind of how it's working.
Maybe Sharon actually knows more about that, and we're
More.
missing her to get really nerdy on that part of things.
But do you know what? So Dispatch reminded me of, like, with OpenClaw. Like with OpenClaw, you could control it with Telegram. Like you could use chat apps
Yeah,
to
yeah.
talk to it. But I feel like Dispatch is kind of trying to fill that gap a bit. To like, okay, well, you don't need to do OpenClaw and have run your own stuff on your own machine, completely set up on your own server. You can now do it with Claude and use Dispatch. That's kind of what I thought it was, the gap that it was filling. It's like people wanted to do that stuff, but now we'll make it easier.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. I feel like there's a lot of companies that are kind of approaching that because, like, Linear, which is like the product management software that a lot of people use, I use it both for work and for a lot of my side projects. It started to introduce a lot of that stuff where, like, if you get a bug report, a bug ticket, Linear will like put its own agent on trying to solve it, and you can set it up so it'll create a PR for you, and it'll
Oh,
so
wow.
you don't do
Yeah.
anything. You'll just get like a new PR that's like, hey, this new bug got reported. We created a pull request that might fix it. Here's our confidence level or whatever.
Oh my God. So I think I need an award for not jumping on Linear, because you told me about it a while back and I was like, I'm still on Trello. I'm staying on Trello
Trello
because
is
like
great. I love
Trello's
Trello.
great. It's simple. If anything, they're kind of bloating it. I kind of like Trello from like 2 years ago. Now they changed the interface a bit and it's got like way more stuff tacked on. And I'm like, I don't need that. I just want to keep it really simple. It was great when it was simple. And I'm staying on that because I think I'm going to go down a rabbit hole if I do Linear. And then it's going to be busy work. It's going to be me setting up all this
Yeah,
stuff, but not actually doing the work.
I agree. I think like Linear is awesome. I'm a big fan. I think it was even one of my picks in the past on this podcast. But especially for solo work, it can really like become busy work where it feel just like that tweet. Like it feels like you're busy, but you're not actually doing anything. And I feel
Yeah,
like it can be
yeah.
really easy to over optimize things in Linear that aren't actually helping you ship product or ship code. But they are doing some really interesting things there. So I do kind of miss Trello. There's something about Trello I love.
Oh yeah, I love well, like I said, I liked it 2 years ago. I liked the design from 2 years ago. It just looked simple. There's something that gave me dopamine from it, but it was simple.
Yeah. It felt really, there was something really nice about how it worked.
Yeah. Anyway, should we
Anyway,
move on to picks and plugs?
plugs and picks. So plugs, where can people go to find out more about you?
Well, you can find me on Instagram at 3 Hour Coffee. That's just spelled out 3 Hour Coffee. And you can find Llama Life just on the web's probably the easiest. So llamalife.co is the website. And from there, you can either use the web app or you can download the iOS and Android apps from there too. Where can people find you?
Yeah, you can find me online. My username is ADHD Jesse on pretty much all social media. I have a whole bunch of different projects I'm doing. I'll just plug a couple: Flux for Blue Sky and WavePal. So Flux is at fluxapp.blue, and then WavePal is at wavepal.app. And stay tuned for many more things that I'm telling myself will be shipping soon. I will get the more things out there.
And you can find this podcast on Instagram at ADHD_founders or online at ADHDfounderspod.com.
Awesome. So I'm going to go first with picks, just in case you were going to steal it. You and I have talked many times before about, oh, you're nodding. I think I'm not doing what you think. No, I'm not doing what you think I'm going to be doing.
Oh, okay.
I was going to, for my pick, I was going to say the show Silo, which you and I have talked about a lot in the past. We're both big fans of good sci-fi, and Apple TV is just killing it with good sci-fi, and Silo is one of the best ones. And season 3 just came out like a few weeks ago, and I'm back in, baby. I've been really loving it, especially after I know you're a little behind, so I won't spoil anything. But like season 2 ends with a bit of like a what, and it's been very exciting to see where they go from there. And so if you don't have Apple TV and you like sci-fi at all, you are missing out, because there's a lot of great. I mean, there's Severance, of course, that everyone talks about, but there's a lot of really great sci-fi. Oh, you still haven't seen Severance?
I haven't. It's on my list.
You gotta see Severance. It's so good.
Yeah. So Severance is definitely on my list. Silo, 100% agree. I am at the end of. I finished season 2, and I agree. Massive, like, big reveal at the end of season 2. I haven't started season 3, but that's on my list as well.
We will. I'm sure you and I will be talking about that soon once you get a chance to watch those episodes.
While we're on the topic of movies and TV, The Odyssey. I won't spoil it because I know you haven't seen it, but I saw The Odyssey last weekend. I loved it. I didn't know what to expect, because there was all this stuff on Instagram, all these like memes and stuff. You know how it was shot on IMAX? It was shot with the IMAX camera, and everyone was like, just making fun of it, going, I'm going to watch The Odyssey how Christopher Nolan intended. And they were just showing it on like, your mobile phone. Some people were showing it like on a calculator, a receipt printer, like all these really crappy screens on their
on the
Apple
back
Watch
of like
Ultra.
an airline seat.
Yeah. Or someone did it on their watch, and it was like there was all these jokes and stuff. But it was genuinely, I really enjoyed it. It was 3 hours, which can go either way for ADHD. Sometimes I'm in a film and I cannot get into it, and it's just really, and it's agonizing when it's 3 hours. But I was into this film. The 3 hours went like just a flash for me. I was like, this is so good. So I recommend that if you're looking for a movie to watch.
Nice. I love Christopher Nolan. I need to see that one. Haven't had a chance yet. What stinks, they used to in up in Seattle, which I live near Seattle, they have a giant like real IMAX screen at there's like a Pacific Science Center up there. In just earlier this year, they announced that they were no longer going to show commercial films on it. They were only going to show like the nature documentaries and stuff that they've shown on in the past. And so now like the Odyssey comes out and you can't see it on true IMAX anywhere in Washington State. It was one of only like 18 remaining IMAX screens in the country.
They're going to regret that, because to film The Odyssey, Christopher Nolan actually worked with IMAX to improve the camera, because in the past the IMAX camera was very, very loud. Like if you go on YouTube or Instagram and Google,
it's like really,
it's got like a really like a motor kind of sound, which must be super distracting for the actors, and it means that you can't capture like the sound, natural sounds, and the voice, the dialogue. Like a lot of it would have to be done post. But with The Odyssey, our IMAX actually created, I think they called it the blimp. It's like they put the IMAX camera in like another casing, so it dampens the sound significantly. So there
Yeah.
were a lot of improvements, but I think because of that, there's going to be a lot more movies and films like made with the IMAX camera now, because the process might be a bit easier. But there's all sorts of cool like behind the scenes trivia with that too, because it's a big blimp covering the whole camera. It means like all the eye lines for the actors is stuffed up. Like if you've got two people and we're chatting and it's filming you, but I'm there and you're talking to me,
Oh,
your
it's
eye
got like
line looking
this
at me,
width to it or whatever.
that it's got too much width, so you can't see. So they actually had to rig it up with mirrors so the actors would be able to see the eye line of the other actor and still kind of make it easier to perform as well, but just to really get the eye line. So they had mirrors set up. There's all this cool stuff online, like you can check out the behind the scenes, but watch the movie first so you don't get spoiled by all of
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah. I'm hoping to see that one soon.
what else?
You had mentioned AI, some AI
Oh yeah,
stuff.
the AI
So
stuff. So yeah, so I've been going down a rabbit hole with that. So on YouTube, this was a channel that Jesse actually recommended to me. It's by a content creator called Matt Pocock, and his YouTube videos are really great because I feel like he's a developer, but he's very practical, and there's no kind of fluff. So he actually shows you his process, which I found useful, like his kind of workflow to creating something in Claude Code. So I just found it really useful to kind of hear his thoughts as he was going through step by step, like making something simple. And you don't really need to
yeah,
understand
yeah.
like what he's creating. It's more like the process, like how he thinks about it. And he's got some really good prompts and like rules and stuff, very simple ones that he puts in that will probably make your life a lot easier. So I think that's one of the key things I'm getting from all the videos is like hearing all the little things that other people have set up that works for them that I'm just kind of gonna steal, borrow, hopefully make my life a bit easier. But I really like his channel. And then I guess if you're not a developer and you're sort of focusing more on chat and co-work, there's another guy that I've been watching. His name is, let me just double check I've got this right, Jeff, and his last name's Su, S-U. He is sort of this like productivity guru, but he's been delving a lot more into AI. And I like I like the thinking. I like his thinking.
I like that you use the word delving, which is like
Delving.
people
I
always
know.
make fun of because that's like an AI word.
Is
AI
it?
loves to use the word delve. Like, let's
Really?
delve into that topic. Yeah.
Maybe when I said it, it was kind of weird. I had this moment and I was like, delving. I never used that word delving. I wonder where I got that from. I kind of had this other narrative in my head going on and I continued talking, but I was like, why did I say delving? Maybe I picked it up from the AI stuff I've been
Yeah, it's
watching too
taken
much of
over.
that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Anyway, this guy, Jeff Su, he's really good too. But again, it's the way they think about it that's I've found very helpful. And I've sort of been just kind of screenshotting like different prompts and examples. For me, it's the examples, like how other people are using it. That's kind of really helped me.
I'm a big fan of Matt Pocock and all the stuff that he does. He's got a really great set of skills that's super popular. I almost mentioned it earlier because you were talking about you like learning things. There's the teach skill, which is really good. It's not video, so maybe it doesn't work for you because you mentioned video is like your preferred way of learning, but it does a really good job of doing like a custom tutorial for whatever random thing you want to learn about. Maybe you want to learn, the example he uses is like learning how to solve a Rubik's Cube, or maybe you want to learn how to cook a certain meal, or I've actually used that I feel like maybe I mentioned this before. As I'm saying it, it's sounding sort of familiar, but like I'm working at a new company with a whole giant code base. I use the teach skill to learn parts of the code base. And so I've been going through like little lessons that it generates for me specifically on the topic I'm interested in, which is great. And then being able to use that as well to give it the context of like, when I'm learning about code, I can say, this is my background. I'm a front end focused developer with a lot of experience with React and HTML and CSS. And then like I know some Elixir, I can give it sort of like my own context, and then it'll use that as examples. And so it'll be teaching a certain concept and say, oh, this is sort of like using the pipe operator in Elixir or
Oh
those sort
yeah.
of things. And so it's like within my own personal context for
Yeah,
how I'm going
yeah.
to learn, because those examples are so important for picking up new concepts.
I think what you said there was really important, like telling it where you're at and to use examples. Because I actually use that even just in like in a AI chat window. I would say, here's my background. Like I'm more front end. And, when you explain back end stuff to me, if there's a front end sort of parallel that you can use as an example, like, tell me about that. And I also do that with like web development versus iOS development because I'm more a web dev, like React, JavaScript, React. So then when I started to do iOS development, I'm using React Native. So I'd always be like, okay, well, I'm more familiar with React. Like when you tell me stuff about React Native, like can you sort of draw some, like always kind of contrast it or compare it to
Yeah,
React and
yeah.
tell me like, oh, this is different to React. In React Native, it's this way. Like it's the same thing, but it's this way. Or even stuff like say with JavaScript, it's like node modules. And then when you install node modules like to help you do certain things, and then with iOS development, it's like Cocoa Pods is the
Yeah.
equivalent of node modules. So I was like, when you explain Cocoa Pods, just tell me it's like node modules. And then I'm like, yeah, that's all you need to say. I got it. Like
Right.
that's something like that. It just makes it easier.
Yeah, that content, and that's something that I feel like is one of the superpowers of AI is that you can tell it your context. And so that really helps because there like I could find a tutorial, but I can't like I'm not going to be able to find a tutorial that is perfectly designed for what I already know.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
that is like a magical thing that only AI can do. Or literally like, if I was like a billionaire and could just hire somebody to develop specific lessons for me, which is no one does. And so like this is something that could not have existed before, where I have something that can create lessons for me to learn a thing I'm interested in with exactly my own context, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's almost like saying to like you have a friend who's been on the same journey as you. This is kind of how I feel now because like we're very similar in terms of what we know, like more web dev, right? Like we started with
Yeah,
web
yeah.
dev and design. So like when you tell me stuff, you can sort of that I know that, so you can kind of go it's like that. But
Right,
now
right. Yeah.
you've got that in AI now versus a friend or a person that's had a similar journey.
Awesome. Well, hopefully next time we'll have it's been like our schedule's been a little bit all over the place. Last episode I was out, this episode Sharon's out. Summer is just kind of a little bit wild. So hopefully we can get back to more of a normal rhythm soon where we can have all three of your wonderful hosts in every episode. So thanks for listening.